This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
Welcome to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and it is a Victory Tuesday here in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Not a Monday, a Tuesday. And what an eventful weekend, what an eventful day today has been already. We have a major trade in the AFC. We have a major injury in the AFC with the
lots going on.
Lots going on. But first I wanted to mention, Matt, I was at your house for the Rob King was there as well for the Halloween party.
Little gathering.
Yeah, you tried to pawn your cat off on me.
Yeah, his cat's got issues, man. I'm trying to make him an outdoor cat.
You didn't make it real positive by saying he likes to go to the bathroom all over the house.
Yeah, that's why I'm not real big on him. He's also not real bright. I think one goes hand in hand with the other. I wouldn't mind him exiting. If anyone wants a lovely, soft, cute cat, cute as could be.
Oh, he's very friendly.
My least favorite animal we've ever had.
I'm
a very animal-friendly guy. And we've had a lot of animals over the year, including Larry the bird. And fish, I like better than him too.
So the cat goes number 2 all over your house.
Every 2 to 3 days in massive quantities when it all comes out at once. Today's a day probably, by the way.
My question to you would be, after the cat goes number 2 all over your house, do you then make it take a shower?
I should.
Because that's apparently a thing at your household.
It's a thing with this guy. And there's way more to that story than is for this airwaves. And some of it's sort of medically related that people don't want to hear about. But
your friends kept telling me when you would disappear upstairs for a while, to look and see if you had wet hair when you came back down.
It happens. Well, it's a good thing to host. I did it actually. I shouldn't tell this story, but a good friend of mine bought a house that people would know in the South Hills, and it was probably 10 years ago. We were all in like suits and ties. I'm like, oh man, I gotta go. There's plenty of spots in his house that you can sneak away into like the corners that no one's gonna bug you. I did, and I'm sitting there and had a few, and I'm like, the shower's right there. No one's gonna know. So I popped back, wet hair, suit and tie. And we weren't as close then as it was one of the first times I had been to his house. He's like, "Did you just get a shower at my house?" I'm like, yeah, dude. Down in the basement. It hasn't been used in 10 years. There's only 4 people who live here, and you got 7 showers in your house. Yeah, but it's a phobia of mine, and now I guess the world knows. It's more than a phobia, but I'm not ashamed.
Well, your friends now owe me a beer because I told them that this was going to be brought up.
But it didn't happen. I was gone for a while tasting great liquors in the basement, actually, with my buddy. And everyone assumed I was upstairs in the...
That's how the story came up.
I'm sure.
I expected you to come with wet hair.
My man Sab and I were tasting my finest tequilas and bourbons that don't come out enough.
Anyways.
There you have it.
Moving on.
I knew this was coming up, by the way. Someone teed me up.
Oh, somebody tipped you off. That's no fun.
Well, I came and sat down next to your wife after hanging out with my buddy Sab for a while, and she's... I guess it was the first she's heard of this. She's like, "You're very cleanly." I'm like, "Cleansly." I'm like, and she's like, "It might come up early." I think she's the one that let me know, or I walked in as you guys were chatting and not hiding it well.
Yeah, she's gonna.
But yeah.
Anyway, Steelers win 26-18.
Finally got the folks out of my house. 3:45. The Uber showed up to get them out of there. Yeah,
yeah.
We did pretty good work.
I was sleeping well before that.
Yeah, but it was nice seeing you and Rob. We'll talk to him soon.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure that's the biggest story of the day, though.
No. Steelers win 26-18 over the New York Giants. Get to 6-2 going into the bye week.
Yeah.
The offense, again, 420, I think ended up being 426 yards because they took a knee on the final play. Scored points on 5 of the 9 meaningful possessions in the game. I think they only punted 3 times in the game. So
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Red zone offense was 0 for 4, which was a problem. But you had 2 touchdowns that were wiped out. That were called touchdowns, and then one was negated by a penalty. The other one was negated by...
The Giants had one as well.
Strangeness of the rule.
So in the last month, and one of them was in the last 24 hours, I didn't know that the Steelers couldn't trade for Deontay Johnson again. Strange little loophole in the NFL. And I didn't know that.
Well, that one makes sense, though. Because
that one adds up. I'd never given any thought. It's never come up in my life before, or one that I could remember. But 2 right feet or 2 left feet doesn't equal a right foot and a left foot.
Yes.
That makes no
But
sense
your
to me
butt
at all,
equals 2 feet.
And knee equals
your
2 feet.
Your elbow equals 2. Your head equals 2 feet.
Right. John
but
Madden wrote a book, and one knee equals 2 feet.
2 feet
Right.
being the same foot do not equal 2 feet.
So conceivably, you could throw a swing pass to Najee Harris on the sidelines. He could put one leg behind his head and bounce down the sideline until somebody knocked him out of bounds, and it wouldn't be a catch.
Wouldn't be a catch.
That's nuts to me.
That's definitely a loophole.
I bet that gets changed this offseason. Like, how often does that happen?
It doesn't happen often.
Right.
It was a weird play.
And you have to be a ridiculous athlete to make that happen, too, which he is.
But if my elbow equals 2 feet, then my same foot twice should equal 2 feet.
Yes. And I was on a fantasy podcast this morning, and this won't shock you or probably any of our listeners. No one, and it's not even close. It's this wide. I know our YouTube people can see on.
He has his arms spread really wide.
Right. Has had more fantasy points taken away from penalties and things of that nature.
Oh, yeah.
Than Pickens.
Think about. We were talking about this on the pregame show yesterday with Tim Benz.
It's like the 4 touchdowns already.
The play was a Thursday night. It was Sunday night's game. Dallas in San Francisco.
Okay.
The touchdown pass, I believe it went to Kittle, to the right flat.
Short one.
Short one. The receiver just comes right in and blasts into the defensive back.
Oh, yeah, the pick play, right.
And they asked Trey McCauley about it, and he says, "Oh no, that's because it wasn't called." And McCauley says, "Oh no, that's perfectly fine." And Collinsworth, to his credit, goes, "If that's going to be legal, look out."
Get used to it. Yeah.
That was far, far, far greater.
Oh yeah.
Than what Allen Robinson did that negated the touchdown pass that Pickens caught earlier this season. Was that
not
against
Allen
Denver?
Robinson, but who was it?
Not Allen Robinson,
right?
Van Jefferson.
Jefferson,
Van Jefferson.
Yeah, not to mention all the DPIs on like Surtain and Sauce and great corners too. So his production is probably double what his stat line is.
Yeah.
In terms of what he's produced to the team.
And it all matters for the team, except for the touchdowns that are getting taken off the board.
Coming back, and you go backwards instead of getting a touchdown.
Think about where that game's 34 to what 50 or 34 to 9. If both of those before the Giants come back and score,
I will say if I was
they're not
a Giants
even running
fan,
the football at that point. If it's 34 to 9,
no doubt. But the Giants have one that they should be complaining about too. In the letter of the law, that should have come back. The Theo Johnson one where he was just wide open. But that was a little.
They showed it this
generous.
Morning. I saw the replay of it this morning.
I think you get away with that more often than not.
The problem was he ran over to the other side of the field. He was on the wrong side of the field, and so he was jogging back to the other side of the field. And again, this is when we talk about things that a veteran quarterback does.
I was going to go there too. The pre-snap offensive penalties for the Giants was insane.
So many.
And some of you listeners had something to do with that too. The crowd noise, of course.
But he never got set. I mean, it was never he just jogged into and never set himself. So I get it. The 2-point conversion play.
Oh.
First of all, it was the most ridiculous attempt at a play. I like just line up and go for it if you're going to go for it.
It's right there with the Bears handing a guard the ball when they're trying to take the lead.
Secondly, I still the math to me, I don't care what they say, it doesn't make sense.
The two for
because
first,
over like the last 4 years, 2-point conversions are converting at like a 47 or 46% rate.
So it's under 50.
It's under 50. Okay. It's not a 50-50 proposition.
Yeah. It's not like if I get this one, if I flip the coin, I'm going to get tails.
So now you're down 8 points instead of being down 7. Okay, or and then finally, the guys that he had out there are all still looking at him.
Well, that's the thing.
To see if and he calls for the ball and has it snapped, and Alex Highsmith's the only one that reacts to it.
So he's just walking between trees and making the tackle. Right.
Because the quarterback didn't wait for them to get set. On the Watt strip sack.
Yes. Someone was supposed to flip.
T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith, but especially on third downs, have been flip-flopping on pretty regularly in this game.
Yeah.
It wasn't all the time, but it was pretty regularly. And instead of motioning his tight end over to Watt's side where they wanted him and where the right tackle thought he was going to have help, Daniel Jones snapped the football.
I immediately am like, that's the play you're going to not double Watt?
Yeah.
Sack, strip, recover, boom, forget about it.
These are quarterback issues.
Absolutely. And again, that's not a knock on Fields, but it's the difference between Fields, Jones, and Russ.
Right.
You know, I mean, it really is.
Just having a guy who knows how to operate.
He would never snap the ball.
Yeah, he would know it. He just knows how to operate it. He's been around long enough to don't do that.
Right. Like that crazy 2-point conversion. I see the argument of going for 2. I'm not really in favor of it. I could see the argument during the week of we're going to try this crazy play that no one's ever seen before.
We're going to put the ball in the hands of our best guy,
right? With
a bunch of blockers in front of him. He should be able to get 2 yards.
But the execution is the worst part.
The
execution is laughable. I mean, it's like, what was that, like Patriot Indianapolis game, or I forget what it was.
It was Patriots Colts, and they lined up
and 2 guards.
Everybody
else elsewhere, and then these guys just destroyed the quarterback.
And he's under, and the guy's under center.
Yeah.
So all they got to do is take 2 steps, and they're on top of him.
Crush him, right. Like, during the week, you got to get pretty creative to put your stamp of approval on
at least go in the shotgun in that situation.
Yeah. But, so, a lot of procedural issues for the Giants.
Flag football without having any count, by the way. There's no 3 count. You just snap the ball and go grab
you're just in.
That's why you have
That's exactly what.
That's why you have
Highsmith had to be more shocked than anybody. Like, none of you are even going to try to block me. But anyway, the game to me. Well, I was going to say the game was closer than it should have been. I don't know if I believe that or not. I mean, a lot of those things didn't go great in terms of where the points could have went, but there's a case for all of them. Steelers' run defense wasn't great, and
the defense
it was bad.
The defense did not have a great night.
No, I mean, they made big plays, Beanie and the edge guys. But I thought, I don't want to start with the negatives, but I felt like after the game I was worried about defense more than I am now, because I think when I was trying to get in their heads all day, what did they fear about the Giants' offense?
Neighbors.
I think Neighbors getting over the top, which they never allowed.
Minka was definitely shading him the entire game.
They knew he was going to get catches.
Yeah.
He's awesome. But don't let him get the 80-yarder, and I think Porter or Jackson was off a lot. Like, we'll give you the 7-yarder. If you nickel and dime us and Jones completes them, I can live with myself in the morning. And I think the other thing is they didn't want Jones to run. They've game planned against Dayball with Allen, and Jones is a pretty effective runner, and he ended up with 1 rushing yard on 3 attempts. So I think they Lamar Jacksoned them to some degree, that if the back's going to beat us.
Well, we talked about that part of it last week, that he had almost as many carries as their running backs.
Yes, right.
Both of them.
Right.
Like, he was, over 100 or over 50 carries already this year.
And I frankly think they underestimated Tracy. He's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And he's going to be pretty darn good.
Yeah. Now, for Neighbors, it was 7 catches on 13 targets for 71 yards. You can live with that.
I'm saying Friday would take that in 100 years.
And I'll say this.
It can't be 140, though.
Yeah. They gave up 9 points in the first half. Going into the fourth quarter, the Giants, I believe, had about 230 total yards of offense.
Mm-hmm. Even though they were moving the ball and running it pretty well,
it wasn't a crazy number. And then the fourth quarter was kind of okay. You're up, more than 2 scores pretty much the entire fourth quarter.
And the pass rushers are teeing off.
Yeah,
you're into that neighborhood.
But when you didn't get there, some guys were left on an island, and the Steelers blitzed more last night than.
That I didn't understand or approve of at the time. Like, my halftime notes, I'm like, why so much blitz? You should be able to get home. So I'm talking out both ends of my mouth, because the last couple of weeks I've complained that they've been a little too vanilla. 4, drop 7, cover 3, zone. Okay, that's my checkers are better than yours type coaching. Okay, I get that. You have really good checkers, you have great checkers. But I'm looking at that game going, that protection's so bad. That you should be able to win without it, and there's too much to lose if he beats the blitz, and he was pretty good about beating the blitz. I do think
I'd have to look at his overall blitz. Maybe his numbers against the blitz are horrible.
I'm almost certain they are.
Yeah.
I'd have to double check, but I've heard that 100 times, and I just didn't double check. So I get that part too. And sometimes guys make plays. You know what I mean? But I was thinking, why so? It was one of my halftime notes. Like, why so much blitz? Just let your pass rushers rush the passer.
Yeah. So,
also a high percentage of the rushing yardage came between the tackles. Very high.
And a lot of it was against the nickel.
Against nickel. Too. I knew that's what you were going to say next.
A lot of it was against the nickel.
Interesting, right.
And presumably, I know Beanie Bishop is a great story right now, and 3 interceptions in the last 2 games, fantastic. But I want to see what it looks like with Cam Sutton out there.
Agreed. And part of it's run defense. Part of it's getting Benton off the field. Part of it's Queen and Wilson aren't hammers against the run. I mean, the nuts and bolts of it are. So I was just doing this in the lobby a minute ago. They're seeing the 6th highest percentage of 11, and people are running on them. With it. And they're seeing a high percentage of run between the tackles, really high last night, and they're seeing a really high percentage of 11. So for 5 years, I've been talking about, man, they need to be in nickel more. They can't do nickel. But they're finding weaknesses in the nickel that those two linebackers aren't hammers against guards and fullbacks and centers, and Benton's on the game too.
What I want to see is when Sutton comes back.
Yeah.
If
you remember, be a better runner.
If you remember back to training camp, a lot of times they were playing him at safety too.
Yes.
And so
gives you one more card, one more.
Yeah, I wonder if you start to mix those guys up a little bit
mm-hmm.
and say, okay, we're going to let Deshaun Elliott, who's great against the run.
Yeah, he had like 1 or 2 bad plays in this one too, uncharacteristically.
Let him get up in the box more in the nickel.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Have him the guy of the line of scrimmage, dude, and Sutton off.
Yeah.
Or interchange them.
Or interchangeable. You don't know who's going to be where.
Yeah. When the huddle breaks.
In the huddle, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it's definitely a wrinkle to think about. Yeah.
So we'll
I'm not
see.
even suggesting that Robert should be in the nickel or anything.
No.
But he would. When he's in the game, that people don't run the ball very well.
No.
I've noticed that.
He's a hammer.
Yeah, I've noticed that part.
Yeah.
I love Keanu Benton. This is like the negative hour. I don't mean to be this way because they just had a good win. They're 6-2 in their first place. I love Keanu Benton, but he might be more Cam Hayward.
I think
they
the
might
same thing.
need a nose. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
I think the same thing.
An off season, like I'm not saying Casey Hampton or a 380-pound slug, but they might need to find a nose and make him an end. You know?
Yeah.
And
no, I had
better
the
in
same
2
thought
spots.
when I'm looking through some of the draft stuff, doing a little early prep as I was watching games.
Like the Kentucky kid.
And a lot of the body types in this year's draft are more nose type than they are true Steelers 3-4 defensive end types.
Right. And I think you could kill
And I had
2
that
birds.
same thought. I'm like, maybe you just draft a true nose tackle
and let him get upfield.
Yeah.
He takes over for Ogunjobi, or everyone moves down a rung.
Yeah.
I think that's the move.
That would be what I would do as well.
Mm-hmm. Or sign one.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Offensively,
or it'd be nice to have Adams.
Yeah. Offensively, I thought the Steelers took some strides.
Yes.
Particularly involving the other receivers not named George Pickens. Yeah.
Clearly. I mean, Pickens and Najee, to me, stirred the drink. I mean, those two are playing at a really high level. We can get to the quarterback for sure, obviously. But the other guys are stepping up, and you've said this for 2 or 3 weeks. You expected the Jeffersons and Austins and maybe not Washington, but Washington certainly has of all benefited.
That's been kind of the biggest surprise.
Yeah, and I think they adore him, by the way. He never leaves the field. They're all becoming more and more productive, looking like starting-type players. It's promising,
Yeah. I would still be on the lookout for a slot. That's what I want now is a true slot.
Okay. I'd be in the market for anything. I wouldn't mind if Slayton didn't leave Pittsburgh.
No, I wouldn't have minded that at all. But I say a slot because they also put Roman Wilson yesterday on IR. So he's out at least the next 4 weeks. And even when he comes back after being out 4 weeks, what are you going to get from him as a rookie?
Is he allowed to practice?
No.
When on IR at all?
No.
Okay, you can't do anything, right?
Yeah.
I should know that.
He can be in the building, he can go to meetings, but he's already been doing all that stuff and hasn't been able to get on the field.
Yeah, right.
So
I mean, before you know it, the season's almost over.
Right, yeah.
Right.
So
no,
I'm expecting nothing out of him this year. I would be in the market for, Scotty Miller has been a great story, and he can be on my football team. I'll have him there, but I would like to get somebody who is a true move-the-chain slot type guy. Myers would be great.
Yeah,
Adam Thielen would fit that bill.
Be cheap as could be.
Yeah.
No, but
even as I mentioned last week, Tyler Boyd would fit that bill.
Cheap as could be too.
Yeah.
No, I'd be interested in Slayton though too.
Oh, if you can get that, then that changes everything because Van Jefferson can play in the slot too.
Jefferson's my slot, or you can do, Pickens could do some here and there. Freiermuth could be some slot too. Et cetera. But burying the lead here. The offense was really good.
The offense has been really good the last 2 weeks.
Quarterback's been really good.
Yeah.
And it's a noticeable difference. And it's not a we told you so. It's just
reality.
It's Flacco versus Richardson.
Yeah.
I'm not as drastic, but it's just some of those older dudes, They get you out of bad plays. They know when and where to attack.
And they know where to go with the football.
What's that?
They know where to go with the football.
Exactly.
They know where the
These
weakness
coaches
of
are
the
pretty
defense
smart.
is at. Yeah.
If you run the plays as designed, it's harder than people think, but you can be pretty darn productive.
Arthur Smith looks a lot smarter now than he did 5 weeks ago.
Or with the Falcons with those jabronis.
Yeah. Arthur Smith would have killed for Russell Wilson. In Atlanta.
Oh, they had the worst quarterbacks in the league during his tenure.
We've seen it. They have great skill position guys.
Yep. If they would have Cousins, again, I've made the joke, like, you're going to go get Cousins and Mooney the year after I left? Thanks a lot.
It's like the Justin Fields conversation in
Exactly,
Chicago.
right.
Now you go trade for all these receivers.
Keenan Allen. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind those guys either, right.
And I honestly think if you saw Russell Wilson and Justin Fields sitting on the bench yesterday together.
Great relationship.
They have a fantastic relationship.
Yep.
And I think Fields is going to learn so much from watching Russell Wilson play. It's the same reason why Anthony Richardson is getting benched right now in Indianapolis. Hey, go watch Joe do this and
just hit this basic route combination.
Yeah.
Know where to go with the football. He's thinking too much and double clutching.
It's awful.
It's brutal.
Awful.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, these young quarterbacks need to take that step back and because you don't have time when you're playing every week to analyze yourself.
Yeah.
Because all you're doing is preparing for the next opponent. There's only so many hours in the week, and you have to study film, and you have to know all the checks, and you have to know everything else.
There's no time to coach up second and third stringers and bring them along slow.
Right.
That's just not how the world works. And who knows? But like Richardson and Bryce Young, taking a step back might be the best thing that ever happened to them. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm not predicting that, but it doesn't look good for either one at the moment.
But 3 straight games with a 100-yard rusher, 167 rushing yards, and your quarterback is only gave you 7 of those. So they got 160 rushing yards out of traditional runs.
Yeah. Handing the ball to running backs.
And they threw for 278 yards against the Giants defense.
I don't think we gave the Giants defense enough credit and kudos going into the game. Like, statistically,
I tried to late in the week.
It's good.
And I was wondering about that as I watched them rip down the field on the opening drive. I'm like, maybe this run defense is bad. It got better as the game went on.
Yep. We all knew they could rush the passer.
Yeah.
But as a defense, it's not as bad as we thought.
No.
Or as many thought. They're like, the Giants stink. Their defense is terrible.
Yeah. That being said,
right.
the Steelers did average 5.4 yards per carry, which was right on New York's average.
Yep, you'll take it. And, boy, they're ripping off so many explosive plays, so many explosive runs.
Yeah.
The deep balls. I mean, the explosive play rate's going up like through the roof.
Yeah, it's pretty astronomical.
Yeah.
We got to get to a break. We're going to do that right now. He is Matt Williamson, shower extraordinaire. I am Dale Lolley, and this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back with more right after this. And welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and we're joined on the Justin Miller hotline by Rob King, voice of the Steelers.
Justin Miller hotline. I like
How
that.
about that? Yeah.
You like that?
Very
we had to name it
nice,
something
yeah.
there. You can't just have the hotline. You got to have the Justin Miller hotline. And
No, it's Miller time.
It's
there you
Miller
go.
time.
Kinger, soon
How
to
are
be
you?
soon to be published author.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we'll let that one
Yes,
sit out there, and people can try to figure this out. But Kinger, Steelers winning last night, 26-18 over the New York Giants to get to 6-2 heading into the bye, and all is well, I guess, in Steeler land.
Yeah, I mean, good enough, right? I mean, you were kind of hoping for a beat down, a kind of a statement game, maybe going into the break. The Steelers are a little bit nicked up, and again, guys, we talked about this all week, and I saw you on Thursday, and then, my view of the Giants changed a little bit by the time I got to Monday night. I try to watch a game a day of the opponent, and the first couple of weeks, the Giants running game didn't look really good at all with Singletary and, new offensive line. And even with not looking good, they were a couple of plays away from being in the Vikings game. They should have beat the Commanders, would have beat the Commanders if they had a kicker. By the way, Malik Neighbors had a key drop in that game. He's had three key drops, including one last night. As great as he's looks like he's going to be, I'm sure he's got some balls he would like to have thrown to him again to have a chance to make a catch. But it was another game in which, as many games are in the NFL, the Steelers made the plays they needed to make, got the job done, and got out of the stadium with a W.
So Steelers are taking this special theme thing to a new level. I mean, it's kind of astronomical that almost every week and the streak of a huge play on teams sways the game, and there's like no missed kicks or bad punts. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You've got Chris Boswell, and we should never take him for granted because he's just so great. I mean, he's had one miss this year, and it was a 62-yarder at home that he pushed to the right. It's his only miss of the year. He's the most accurate kicker, I believe, in NFL history, 50-plus yards. He's just a remarkable weapon. And, again, when you talk about, we talked about this all the way back in camp and this notion of winning in the margins because the Steelers have had to have, I believe that's one of the phrases you've used, Matt. The Steelers have had so many close games over the last couple of years. Mike Tomlin has maneuvered the team into positions to win games, and that they've had to do that in close fashion because of defense and then the contributions from Chris Boswell and others. And they clearly made an attempt to upgrade that. They went out and got Cordero Patterson. They got Cam Johnson, who's a phenomenal punter. Of course, Johnson got hurt. Cordero's been hurt and hasn't been a factor in the kickoff game because they haven't kicked to him. Why would you? The guy's got 9 touchdown returns and most in NFL history on kickoff. So it is something they take very seriously by their actions, and they talk about it, and it isn't just talk. They put their checkbook on the line, they put their time and practice on the line, and it showed up in the games. And instead of being something in the margins, it's been an important factor in them winning the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, and Kinger, I thought it was, as Mike Tomlin likes to say, there's no such thing as style points in the NFL. You either win or you lose. Just ask the Baltimore Ravens, who dropped one on Sunday to the Cleveland Browns.
Sure.
To me right now, and I know that we've seen some moves here and there, and Deontay Johnson gets traded to the Ravens. Deontay Johnson getting traded to the Ravens doesn't fix Baltimore's pass defense, which is atrocious. Some of the moves that have been made don't fix these teams. So being in first place in the AFC North right now, and nothing is going to change that, by the way, next weekend.
Yep.
Even if the Ravens win next weekend, the Steelers are still the first place team in the AFC North. You've put yourself in a position now heading down the stretch here that if you can win, not the majority of these games, if you can get 5, you go 5-4 down the stretch.
That's not much to ask. That's very possible.
11 wins, A, gets you into the playoffs, and B, might win you the division. I mean, Baltimore's already lost to Cleveland and to the Raiders at home.
Well, I think, guys, when we looked at this team in the offseason, and we kept talking about it, and I think the addition of Cam Sutton, we thought maybe, and the trade for Dante Jackson, so you needed to get some help in the secondary. And, after the move in the secondary, the perception is you're weak at wide receiver. You need to add another body there. And they haven't been able to do that yet. It sounds like they've been trying to do that from all the rumors we've heard locally and nationally. So it tells you that they may perceive the issue to be the same. But your point is a good one, Dale, that, look, most teams have a weakness somewhere. And, getting secondary help for the Ravens, that might be difficult at this time. So what do you try to do? Maybe you go get, you shore up another weakness and hope that maybe you outscore a team if you have to. So, every team is trying to deal with their own shortcomings. But we talked about this, guys, that there aren't, if this team is healthy, and again, they've already been hit with injuries along the offensive line. But this is why we were impressed by their offensive line, because of the depth. And McCollum has come in and done a nice job. And, that adds to your depth now with Zach Frazier coming back, depth that you feel good about. No team is going to be really deep and really good at every position. But, boy, the Steelers, with the exception maybe, again, from the perceptions, the wide receiver position, maybe the reality to wide receiver position, especially if you believe the rumors that the Steelers are seeking wide receiver help. Their depth everywhere else is is really pretty darn good. I mean, it's hard to have, 5 good corners. We understand that. But the Steelers have depth everywhere, and they're going to get some of these guys back. And so you're going to go into the teeth of this schedule with Russell Wilson now having played a couple of games, knocked some of the rust off. Oh, yeah, provided 400 yards of offense, which used to be, like seeing a dodo bird around here, 58 straight games without getting there. And now you've got it 2 straight weeks with him at the quarterback. So at the quarterback position. So there's just a lot to like right now about this team. And every single team has got their blemishes. And we as fans, it's like looking in the mirror. When you look in the mirror, you're closer. That object is closer than it appears to others. So you're always going to see the worst things, the worst blemishes. Well, that's the nature of fandom, and that's the nature of us, concentrating on one team. But every team has flaws, every single team, and it just doesn't feel to me like the Steelers have that many flaws right now. I think it's a good feeling going into this bye, especially knowing you're going to get some healthy bodies back on the other end.
I mean, just on paper, in terms of like guys coming back, where you're at in the conference, record, where going into a bye, there aren't many teams in better shape. I
agree.
Point differential to back things up like that. But one of the most impressive things, and you kind of touched on it, is they really weathered the offensive line injury storm quite well.
Well, they had such enviable depth to begin with, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're up in camp thinking, hey, look, if there's not injuries, I don't know who's on the team, who's on the practice squad. I mean, I'm out there looking at, I don't know where Ryan McCollum would have been. I don't know where Dylan Cook would have been. I'm looking at those guys thinking, man, they look like NFL caliber players, And
I thought they might be able to trade Herbig or Dan Moore or somebody like, right,
yeah.
Early in camp, right?
Yeah, and this is why you hoard those things, because injuries can happen, and the depth has really shown through, especially on the offensive line. I mean, most teams can't handle that. I mean, look, the Giants get Andrew Thomas hurt, and not that he's been spectacular for him, but he's clearly their best offensive tackle. Let's put it that way. Those guys in the middle those guards are can be solid, but they give up 8 sacks to the Eagles. We haven't.
You have to grab Hubbard off the street and put him at left tackle.
Yeah,
not even a left tackle.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and his numbers weren't good there going into the game, and they weren't good coming out of the game at the left tackle position, thanks to Alex Highsmith. But I just think that this is such a solidly well-built roster. I mean, kudos to Omar Khan and the staff and what they've put together. Even the quarterback position, guys. Look. A lot of teams might have gone in and said, okay, Russell Wilson's our starter. We'll take a flyer on an older guy at number 2 or what have you. And then, where would this team have been without Justin Fields?
I was even concerned and thought it was pretty bold to make Fields the number 3 last night. I'm like, wow, that could come back to bite you, but they must have some faith in Allen too.
Right. Yeah. Well, 1 for 1. He's looked good so far, for sure. And he's a veteran guy that,
right,
you feel
around the block.
Kyle Allen's your 3rd, you're feeling good, Cordero Patterson's your 3rd running back, you're feeling good. And it's just a well-calculated, well-put-together roster. Look, I don't want to get overly giddy because we all know that they've got a tremendous amount of games, difficult games coming up. But I love the way the team is trending. I think that Russell Wilson is just, stepping in. You see why he's a 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback. 9 times, guys. That's not accidental.
Right. Had a good year here and there, yeah.
Yeah, you don't sweep that under the rug and say, yeah, but I mean, this guy, he has looked, and we said it up in Latrobe, he looked sharp in Latrobe when we saw him. I keep going back to that word. That's the word to me. I look everything sharp. Let's go. I'm in command. I'm going to change his play. I'm looking over here. I'm throwing it over there. I'm in and out of the huddle. Everything just looks sharp with Russell Wilson. And it's been a team effort. Justin Fields leading the team to 4-2. Russell Wilson coming in now. Herbig getting hurt, and then it's Frazier, and then it's McCollum. Herbig goes down. Highsmith goes down. Moon and others have to step up. It has just been, a lot of positions on this team have been challenged depth-wise, and here they are. They're in first place. They're 6-2. And yes, you need to get healthy. You want to get healthy. And, you want to be playing your best football coming out of the bye. But I think they have an opportunity to do that. I get the sense we haven't really seen the best the Steelers have to offer yet.
And, Rob, we were just kind of talking about the veteran quarterback stuff, the differences there between – and you saw, I think, a stark contrast in that yesterday between Russell Wilson and Daniel Jones. The Giants are snapping the ball when guys aren't set yet. The Giants are snapping the ball when players aren't supposed to be where they're at. They don't have their blocking scheme set up. They don't have their line when they're trying to run a 2-point conversion. Nobody's set, and the Steelers blow the play because those are quarterback things. Right.
Yeah, and evidently the strip sack, I mean, I think I didn't hear the comments, but was told that Dable afterwards said, look,
they were supposed to have help there, but they had it on the other side. They didn't get it moved over.
Right, you're supposed to move the tight end over there. And that's the kind of stuff that Russell Wilson, look, he's been there and done that, man. I mean, and it's not just like been there, done that. Like, we were talking about Earl Morrall. Like it's, a 38-year-old Earl Morrall who knows a few tricks and he's, rotating the shoulder and trying to loosen it up. No, this is a guy that has been to, like I said, 9 Pro Bowls and still looks good in Russell Wilson and can make those moves. It's a good combination of a guy who looks like he's still got, he can hit the gas pedal and rev it up as high as he's been able to, and then he also has that knowledge at the same time. So you're right. I mean, those are good examples of some issues that really hurt the Giants last night. And again, you talk about little things. Look, man, it was a 1-score game, and therefore, by definition, little things are what can certainly tilt the balance one way or the other. We love the big plays, but a lot of little things. I mean, 1st and 20, that's hard to overcome for an offense. So you're right. I mean, those are great examples of the things the Steelers are doing well. And also, I think we talked about this, guys, but when you think about how you get a formula, like just add water and something expands. Well, you think about like the Mike Tomlin approach, what it's been the last couple of years, and what he's had to do, which is manufacture something out of the quarterback position that doesn't turn the ball over, plays in such a way that the defense is in a position to win you games, that kind of thing. Well, now you add Russell Wilson, who historically doesn't turn the ball over, just like you've had. Just add water, and look what you've got. 400 yards of offense, and you're averaging 30 points a game. And, it is a guy that is a very, very good fit for what the Steelers have valued, certainly over the last couple of years under head coach Mike Tomlin.
Our guest has been Rob King, the voice of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Kinger, enjoy the rest of your bye week. We don't do a matchup show this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss you guys.
How about that?
I'll see plenty of you.
We could do matchup. We could match up the bye.
I'm doing a stat pack though.
Matt and I are doing all our regular work.
Right, you just get
it's
the week
guys
off.
like you, the big timers, that get to take the week off.
So I was wondering if I'm going to be sitting. Am I going to be hunched over on my computer on Thursday waiting for Matt's stats? Now I know they'll arrive.
There you go.
They'll be a little more general, no opponent, but halfway through the season, we got to break things down.
I'm ready.
There we go.
Thanks, man.
Our guest has been Rob King. Kinger, we'll talk to you soon. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio. And, of course, you can hear The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network at a number of different places. You can download the Steelers official mobile app. You can watch us on YouTube. We are on every Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. And, of course, we weren't on yesterday because of the Monday night game. But we will be on the rest of the week, even though there's a bye. We don't give up. We don't quit.
No. And all next week, 5 in a row.
Yeah, there you go.
Have to explore some mid-season stuff, too.
I get some guests lined up and other stuff. We'll get through the week. We got plenty to talk about because we don't just talk Steelers. We talk the entire league.
I do a little more draft prep on bye weeks, things like that too. Big picture stuff I haven't been able to get to. That kind of thing.
So you mentioned Darius Slayton.
He looked good.
Previous segment, he did look good. 4 catches for 108 yards. He did have a drop, and Minka blew him up on one down the side.
I'd say that was a heck of a play.
Yeah,
and Minka came flying from the
out
other
of
side
nowhere.
of the field. Yeah, that was
out
like
of
a big
nowhere.
play that was
on a
denied.
3rd down. Yeah.
Anyone thinking, I don't think Minka's having a very good year.
And it's funny because the Giants in that game were just fine. I was shocked when I looked at this at the end of the game. They were only 5 of 15 on third downs.
It felt like more.
It
I was
felt
shocked
like
when I saw
more
that, too.
because they hit some third and longs that were like
some backbreakers.
Yeah.
Like, just when you thought you had them, dead to rights.
and that got them into some like field goal range for some things. But you'll take 5 for 15.
You'll take 5 for 15. Yeah.
And you'll take giving up, less than 20 points. Like, and T.J. Watt was asked after the game, do you look at the yards that you gave up? Do you look at the the points? How do you judge? He goes, I just look at it and see if we won. What's the result?
That's a pretty good result.
Yeah.
Again, they game plan things not to lose the game. Like can't have Neighbors get us over the top. Can't have Jones rushing like crazy. Now, they can't be happy with how they defended Tracy. I mean, there's no question about that.
Oh, no, there was nobody in that locker room that was happy about that.
Right. But, I mean, to be very honest, the trio of Slayton, Robinson, and Neighbors is pretty good. I mean, it's not the best receiving core in the league, but it's better than a lot.
And road Daniel Jones, for whatever reason, has been much better than home Daniel Jones.
I bet the fans are easier on him.
Probably, but he hasn't thrown. Now he's thrown an interception on the road. But that was his first road interception this year. The difference in passer rating was like 40 points between home and road.
They actually got their tight ends a little bit involved too,
late in the game.
And Theo Johnson, but they don't do that much either.
No, they don't.
But that's a good offensive mind too.
Here's the thing.
It's also a desperate team.
So the Jets go into New England on Sunday. They outgame the Patriots by about 100 yards. They didn't even give up 250 yards of total offense in the game.
Knocked the quarterback out.
They didn't turn the ball over.
Jets didn't. Okay.
Jets never turned the ball over, and they lost. The Jets fans, our defense played really well, and we had 224 passing yards and 112 rushing yards. We outgained them by – that was my argument last year when people were talking about, the Steelers hadn't outgained an opponent the entire first half of the season.
Despite their winning record and all that stuff.
Despite a winning record.
Yeah.
It's whether you win or lose the game. I don't care about the yards. Some of those yards last night, and they ended up giving up 394. Again, you don't want to do that. But again, it was like 240 yards, total yards going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And you had a multi-score lead most of the second of the fourth quarter. Like you're up by more than one touchdown. They're going to get yards because you're going to go into prevent a little bit.
We don't bring this up enough, but I don't quote it very often, but there's a lot of the stat nerds that are really interested, especially for like run-pass ratio, in neutral situations. When the game is an 8-point game one way or another, it's not a 2-minute drill. It's not the end of the half.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know exactly even how they define what a neutral situation is, but stats can get skewed really bad by we're in prevent, or it's the end of the half, and the only thing that can hurt us is getting them in field goal range, and so we're gonna give up a lot just not to do that, or can't give up a touchdown, or somebody hits a Hail Mary. Like the Bears stats, or the Commander stats were good, but then you hit a Hail Mary. It's like wow,
No, it's so much better.
Right. There was some of that last night, but there was also some poor run defense.
There was some poor run.
Yeah.
But you look at say, for example, the third quarter when the Steelers took control of the game. Well, the Giants had 24 yards of offense.
Yeah, their third quarter numbers are insanity.
The Steelers.
I mean, the Steelers. Yeah.
And that's when you took control of the football game. You gave up about 170 yards of offense in the fourth quarter. But the Giants are in complete catch-up mode.
Yeah.
Now, you don't want to give up, the 45-yard touchdown run.
That was a killer.
That was a killer. You can't do that.
That was a poorly played defensive play, without question.
But if I'm up multiple scores, and even if you're kicking field goals in those situations, have at it.
The clock's your enemy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're running between the tackles and kicking field goals, you're not going to catch me, especially as well as the offense is playing.
Right.
Like I was on a different show with Rob. And I just kind of threw it out there. I'm like, I'm not suggesting this is going to be the case, but in this game, the offense was better than the defense. Well, okay, you're running the ball and you're eating clock and you're kicking field goals. Our offense is going to bite back and sting you. I mean, it wasn't like that for 3 years around here, or many years around here.
And here's the thing,
you
Matt.
can trust on them to get you points when you need it.
The Giants' longest drive of the game was 59 yards.
Really?
59 yards.
Yeah.
The Steelers had a 57-yard drive, a 63-yard drive, a 61-yard drive, an 80-yard drive, and a 61-yard drive.
More sustainable.
You were the much better offense in this game.
Now, when Wilson fumbled, I kind of went, they might lose one that they really shouldn't. But to be very honest, and part of it's just my preconceived notion that Steelers are just a lot better than the Giants before even the game was kicked off, I never really thought the Steelers were in jeopardy.
I didn't either.
I was going to ask you. You were in the stadium. It's a different feel. And the big term, you just used it, is in control of the game.
Yeah.
I felt like that needle was leaning towards the Steelers for 60 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Just the way you moved the ball, the difficulty, the Giants had to hit some chunk plays that were kind of –
to keep their head above water.
Yeah.
Right. And then and like even the 2 touchdowns early, they end up in field goals. Like it's 9-9 going in the half, but it's like, all right, they're going to own the third quarter.
One team has looked much better than the other.
Right.
Team.
Like even the announcers were, man, the Giants should be thrilled that they did 9-9 at the half because a lot of things went their way. I'm like, yeah, it probably will even out, but that's sometimes how you lose these games too. But I like where the Steelers are sitting at halftime more than the Giants.
And again, it's just doing the little things.
Mm-hmm.
Getting in and out of the huddle, getting everybody lined up correctly, not taking
penalties and
procedural penalties. I mean, the Giants were penalized 11 times in the game, only for 65 yards. So that tells you there were a whole bunch of 5-yard.
There were a whole lot of little 5-yard
false starts
first and 15, or a ton. There's a ton of them. I mean, people were complaining there's too much flags in these games. Viewers, I get that, but if someone does
you
a
have
pre-snap,
to call those. You have
to call it.
Yeah.
And frankly, the NFL needs more practice time to iron some of these things out. I think that's the problem deep down, and too many young quarterbacks. But how does a ref not throw flags on pre-snap procedural stuff? You have to.
Yeah. There was the one call that went against the Steelers where it wasn't Lawrence in the middle. They had a different nose tackle in it, and he flinched and jumped.
And he tapped him on the helmet after that? Yeah, it was a strange one.
Because and they called it on the Steelers. I'm like, you're not allowed to – you can't flinch and cause a guy to false start.
I don't know if you've watched the TV copy yet, but the ref expert said he never went to the neutral zone.
McCauley is the worst referee expert because he always agrees with what the guy's called on the field, no matter what it is. We just talked about it. He was on the broadcast for the
one we were just talking about,
yeah, where it's an obvious offensive pass interference penalty. Oh no, that's not bad.
Nothing wrong with that.
And Collins was like,
the Kittle play, yeah,
that's egregious. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Yeah, you're right, because his point was he never entered the neutral zone. He flinched. Well, that means he flinched and didn't go forward.
Right.
And then McCollum tapped him on the helmet,
damn
which
near
probably
impossible.
wasn't smart, but I guess he wanted to stop the play.
But you see teams, the Ravens do that constantly if somebody flinches. And I've seen the Steelers called for it.
Yeah.
They flinch, and all of a sudden they just reach out and they call it. I'm like,
so that they end the play.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that's what McCollum was thinking.
That's what he was trying to do, because once that guy flinches and you start to move, you might as well reach out and touch him because they're going to call something.
Yeah.
But,
that was a weird one, too.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of those weird little.
And I've seen people complaining about not only the motion penalty that got the touchdown called back, but on the punt return for a touchdown, I've heard people make the argument that should have been roughing the punter. He hit him so hard. I'm like, watch the play again. First of all, he gets blocked into him.
They brought it up after they came back from commercial.
Yeah. He got blocked into him.
And there was contact, but it
wasn't egregious contact.
It didn't affect the play. It wasn't dangerous. None of that stuff. Right.
It wasn't what happened to Cameron Johnston. Where
no, right. It wasn't. He was never in danger at all.
Remember, that one didn't get called a penalty.
Right.
If you get blocked into the guy, you get blocked into him. It's not a penalty.
So I didn't think it was a particularly well officiated game.
No.
And there was some you have to call.
The Highsmith roughing the passer call.
That was
I don't know what that was.
Highly borderline too. And
Jones never even got knocked down on the play.
As usual, there were 10 calls that they didn't call holding on their bookend tackles and et cetera. And not that the Steelers' offensive linemen didn't get away with a hold.
No,
of course,
absolutely.
But when the pre-snaps, it seems to happen more in prime time. You've brought that up, but when the pre-snap stuff has to be called. I feel like things like holds and PIs get less
because they don't want to call. They don't want to call
field.
flag after flag after flag,
and that hurts the Steelers because they have the best defensive line in the league.
Yeah,
No,
I agree. Let's get to a break. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of the drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 right after this. Welcome back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network, and it is time now, kicking off hour number 2 for the Fantasy Football Focus. And Matt, we're back in, baby. We're back in the money.
as we should be.
144.26 points for our fantasy
Nice.
team on DFS. Tua was owned in just 7.2% of leagues. I was kind of surprised by that.
Maybe people didn't think he was going to start, or
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't
14.66
phenomenal,
points, but
yeah.
14.66 points is good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Javonte Williams, 38% ownership, just 9.2 points.
Okay. Surprised he was owned that much.
Achan was at 25.2% ownership. He went off 26.7 points and probably could have done more. They didn't give him the ball late, and that's probably one of the reasons why. It's funny, Tyreek Hill says, we got the band back together, and you go out and you lose to the Cardinals at home.
It's a crucial loss. I mean,
Yeah.
A win there kind of makes them a little dangerous to be a playoff team.
Yeah. Now it's an uphill climb.
Yeah, their defense was a problem too.
George Pickens was owned in 11.4% of leagues. He got us 11.4 points.
Could have been so
2
much more.
touchdowns
Right.
wiped off the board. Yeah,
I
that's
mentioned it last hour. I mean, so many fantasy points that he has not gotten credit for,
Yeah.
that he's kind of earned.
Jackson Smith and Jigba, 12.9 points, 6 catches, 69 yards. He was owned in 6.9% of leagues.
So far, we've had no losers.
No.
Certainly no zeros or any of that kind of nonsense.
Jalen Waddle, 15.6% of leagues, 8.5 points, 4
Yeah, that
catches,
was a
45 yards.
Little lackluster.
But Cade Otton,
Yeah.
57% ownership. He was really chalky. 29.1 points, 9 catches, 81 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns.
He's here to stay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's a tight end 1.
J.K. Dobbins, just 12.8% ownership. He got a 16.8 points. He had a rushing touchdown, 11 receiving yards on 4 catches, and 57 rushing yards. Solid effort.
Yeah, you'll take it.
And the Steelers' defense. Thank you, Calvin
Austin, yeah. Right.
But they had 4 sacks, they had an interception, a fumble recovery, the touchdown, and they gave up between 14 to 20 points. So that was 15 points out of the Steelers' defense, which had 14.1% ownership.
Okay. I mean, you'll take it all day long.
Yeah.
I mean,
So we had a couple of chalky guys who actually went off, so it doesn't hurt us to not have them.
yeah.
And
No holes.
no holes, no super bad. Like we didn't take a 0 this week.
Chan was our best, but he wasn't cheap.
Yeah, actually, Otton was the best.
No,
but
Otton was the
He
best.
was highly owned.
Yeah, it was. That's the only thing that hurt us for them, but he wasn't super expensive. He's gonna be expensive next week.
No, we didn't have a super expensive guy in the line.
I remember we didn't have any cheapies, and we didn't have any super all-in guys either.
Yeah. Let's take a look at this week's waiver wire. Not going to be much out there at this point. Some of these guys, I don't understand.
Weird to me
how
we're talking about this. Feels like such a Monday to me.
I don't even see the guy that I would pick up here at the running back position in Dallas. Did you
Cook?
Did you like what you saw from Dalvin Cook? There was some high usage. Or Dowdle was out,
Yeah,
but he looks better than Zeke.
he looks better than Zeke. It's intriguing. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what Dowdle's injury status is.
I think he was ill
Yeah,
on the
so
day
he's
of the
probably
game.
back.
Yeah.
I still think he's their best guy, and I think Zeke's their short yardage guy.
I'm not so sure that Cook isn't better in pass protection than Dowdle.
That's a good point. I
Yeah.
definitely think that. Could all 3 be active next week? I mean, it's something to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of instances, even older dudes, this time of year, someone that has that
Fresh
position,
legs.
fresh legs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I care about. Like
If I need a spot starter, like I'm not saying you're going to start him this week, but I'd keep an eye on it.
the 6th-round pick or the veteran like Cook that has no wear and tear on their body at that position that gets inserted in the lineup now, they often score a lot of fantasy points.
Yeah. Yeah. No wonder some of these guys are. I'm looking at week 5. How am I at week 5 here? Come
Well,
on,
that's a
people.
problem.
That's a problem. Here we go. Yeah, Cook would have been on. I'm like looking at these guys. I'm like, he can't be that bad of ownership here. Somehow Jalen Warren's only rostered in 46% of leagues.
He's not blowing up fantasy-wise, but he looks the part.
Well, they took an 18-yard catch off of him last night.
True.
And turned it into a 18-yard run instead, which probably
Isn't
cost
quite as good, right?
Yeah, cost people some points there. But
he should be in every league, though.
yeah,
I mean even with Patterson looming.
he's out there on every third down.
Mm-hmm.
9 carries for 46 yards. He had 2 catches for 13 yards. I mean,
And he looks the part to me.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. Is so the numbers will come.
and there's going to be bigger games. I mean, but he still had 60 total yards. Like,
What's hurting him is Najee's been so good.
Najee's been really good.
Yeah.
I'm not real interested in Isaac Guerrero at this point because it looks like McCaffrey's going to start ramping things up,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll see about.
I'm not sure what Mason's situation is, but I don't think it's like dire.
Yeah, Dalvin Cook, by the way, is rostered in 24% of leagues.
Is he?
So their next 3 opponents are Atlanta, Philadelphia, Houston. They're in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, I think they're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really about it with the running back position. It's pretty well picked over. At the wide receiver position,
Tracy's been picked up.
yeah.
It should be. Yeah.
Cedric Tillman, 19% rostered.
I'm interested.
Yeah,
I'm absolutely
bunch of
interested.
targets.
Yep. I really liked him coming out of school. He's been very quiet because he plays the exact same position as Cooper, and now that Cooper's out of the way, yeah, and you actually have a competent quarterback. Yeah, I think he's worth putting some money in, and probably would be like a wide receiver 3 next week.
You say competent quarterback, competent fantasy quarterback is what
compared to Watson.
to me is what
Watson's
Jameis Winston.
crippling.
He threw 3 passes right to Ravens players that they dropped,
Yeah,
including one right before he threw the touchdown pass to Tillman that would have
No.
ended the game. That Kyle
Yeah.
Hamilton just dropped.
but yes, for our purposes here,
For fantasy purposes,
he's better for the Browns in
Yes.
general, no question. Anyone would be. And
But
he's certainly better for the
he
Browns
still
receivers
puts the
for
ball in
fantasy.
harm's way an awful lot.
Yeah. There were some Jameis moments that I thought he might be sort of over at
Doesn't
this
look like
stage
it.
of his career, but he may never.
Yeah. Keon Coleman rostered in 41% of leagues.
Ooh, I'd grab him.
Yeah. He looks good.
He's growing on me more and more.
Yeah, looks good. And now he's getting the single coverage
Mm-hmm.
with Cooper there.
They trust him.
Yeah. Elijah Moore rostered in 2% of leagues.
Maybe.
I'm not there yet. How many pass catchers can you have out of that offense?
I know. Because Njoku's going to get his.
Yeah.
I've just always had a soft spot for Moore. I liked him coming out of school, but his career has not gone as I expected at all.
No.
Any step of the way. And
I
the way
think
the Jets gave up on him was weird.
More of it shows you how bad the Ravens defense was.
Yeah.
That they, like all these, receivers in Cleveland are now, they're all relevant now.
But real quick, we'll get back to this. Deontay going there, you're not happy about as a Deontay owner.
No.
I mean, he used to be the number 1. Now he might be the 4. or
You're
the
probably
2
not
or-
happy about it as a Flowers owner.
Uh-uh.
Because now
100%.
maybe because Flowers, the offense in Baltimore has been very Flower-centric to the receivers.
I'm not sure he's got the body to deal with that, too.
Well, that's part
The
of it.
longevity.
So maybe they don't want to get him 10 targets per game. Maybe they want to cut it back to 7 or 8 and have Deontay do some of that stuff too. And it hurts both of them.
Bateman hasn't been, like, fantasy relevant, but he hasn't been a bad player either.
No.
I don't think
Other than completely losing the ball in the sun and
Oh, yeah.
taking it off the face mask. Wide
but I don't
open.
think they're going to be like a heavy 11 team all of a sudden.
No, I don't think so either. And Jerry Judy's rostered in just 45% of leagues.
Would you rather have Judy or Moore?
I know Judy's going to be on the field more, but I don't love the player.
I don't either, but he's not horrible.
No.
He's been really irrelevant with Watson.
Yeah. Ricky Pearsall rostered in 37% of leagues.
I'm kind of interested. Liked him coming out. Looked like he's adapt pretty well. Good offense. There'll be some opportunity.
Yeah.
Jennings is ahead of him, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Matthew Stafford rostered in just 39% of leagues.
He's got his weapons.
Got the weapons back. The band's back together. That's a team that the band was back together.
Yeah, exactly. And well coached and getting it. And he needs to throw touchdowns, though. And he usually does. Well, he didn't this year without those.
He
guys.
had as many touchdowns on Sunday or Thursday
rest
night
of-
as he had all season.
I mean, as a Ram, he throws touchdowns.
Yeah. When he has all his guys.
But he's got his dudes, yeah. And I don't think anyone's getting traded.
Bo Nix is rostered in 25% of leagues. Here's the problem, though. Got Baltimore coming this week
Yeah.
in Baltimore. Then they go at Kansas City. Then they play Atlanta.
I don't think the chances of them staying as an AFC playoff team is going
They don't sound
be
real
short-lived.
Yeah, they don't sound real good.
I didn't know the upcoming schedule, but he runs a lot.
He runs.
Yeah, and he's getting a little
He
better.
might be running for his life, though.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers rostered in 47% of leagues. Yeah.
Is he cuttable? I think he's cuttable.
Yeah. Jameis is rostered in 6% of leagues.
I might want to see another week.
Yeah. Hunter Henry still rostered in just 39% of leagues at the tight end position.
He's not exciting, but you could do worse.
Yeah. Noah Fant, 30% rostered.
It's okay.
Not a lot there.
Yeah.
Zach Ertz somehow is only rostered in 28% of leagues.
They're a great offense, and he gets the ball a fair amount.
Yeah.
I just think there's kind of an old man syndrome. People don't want to buy in.
Yeah. It's not real exciting, but
No.
it can be effective. Looking at this week's streaming defense
Pretty
schedule.
weak waiver wire week.
Yeah, it's not much there.
Yeah.
A lot of teams off again this week.
Oh, is there? Yeah.
The Thursday night game, just in case you haven't had enough of the Jets. Houston is at New York.
Stephon Diggs out for the year, by the way.
Stephon Diggs
folks.
done.
Heavy fantasy note.
Still no Nico Collins.
When's he got to be sort of close, right?
Getting close, but not quite there yet.
I think I'm starting the Jets D, and I am starting the Texans D.
I can't start the Jets defense.
Without Nico or
They just gave up
Diggs?
25 points to the Patriots.
No.
The Patriots enforced no turnovers in that game
I just think, man,
against the Patriots.
Texans O-line's been so bad. And they only have one weapon right now.
I don't even want to
I'm
watch
not sure if they'll
that.
be in my top 12.
I don't even want to watch that game. Yeah.
Jets are really unlikable.
I can.
Do you think they could be a seller? I mean, we have a 1 week till the trade deadline.
I don't know that I see it. I mean, if you start selling pieces off now, you're basically telling Aaron Rodgers that, okay, you can retire. And he might just do it now.
I know. Like, I'm not saying Adams is going to move after 2 weeks or whatever, but
So I've seen Garrett Wilson's name thrown around. I can't see them trade. You don't trade good young players unless they absolutely want out.
I mean,
and they're
like
going to be a problem.
Garrett Wilson or Olave or somebody like that's truly available, I'll give you stuff for those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, they should never be available.
No.
But like Tyron Smith, there's got to be teams that need a left tackle. No one ever moves tackles.
Yeah, but he's not good.
He's probably better than what some people are playing.
But he's not good. And again, if you trade him, you're telling Aaron Rodgers, Aaron, we're going to make it open season on you because, yeah.
Their bed's not as bad as the Browns' bed that they've made, but it's not a fun bed to
It's also,
lie in right now.
just 2 weeks ago, the owner said there's no reason for us to lose from here. Like, we're going to kick everybody's butt from it.
Yeah, on a 5-game losing streak or something.
Yeah.
I think
So-
it's either 4 or 5.
Dallas is at Atlanta. No.
Atlanta's D's pretty bad.
Yeah. Miami is at Buffalo.
Bills. Well, it's not a great Bills matchup.
No,
I
it's
still
not.
think Miami's offense is here to stay.
Vegas is at Cincinnati.
I think no.
I can't start that Cincinnati defense even against Vegas. And Gardner Minshew is not good.
This isn't real life buy and sell. If they lose the Raiders, I'm
Ooh.
trading Higgins and Hendrickson immediately.
Well, Higgins might not even play this week.
Yeah.
He's day-to-day with that.
And they're so much worse when they're not at full strength.
Yeah, they're just very precarious.
Yeah.
Bad
Year for the Bengals.
How about this matchup? The Chargers are at Cleveland.
Yes and yes.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
I do not think that might the first team to 14 wins.
Mm-hmm. And I have more faith now in the Browns D than I did a week ago.
New England is at Tennessee. Those would be two teams you would stream against.
I think I'm playing the Titans, though.
They got tortured pretty bad last week.
Oh, they sure did. I mean, I don't think Drake May plays. Not that that's a determining factor.
That could be a race to 14.
That's what I mean. I don't see a ton of points in the game, period.
Washington is at the Giants.
No and no.
No.
I prefer Washington, I guess.
I guess. Daniel Jones at home, I guess, makes that the matchup.
Yeah.
Ugh. New Orleans at Carolina.
Saints.
You're going to start a defense in fantasy that gives up 5.4 yards a carry.
That team's shot, though. Deontay's gone.
And the Saints aren't?
I know.
I mean, this is a division game. At least you would expect some pride to take over
Right.
here.
But this is like the third or fourth game we've mentioned.
It's going to be a race to 14 again.
So that makes them relevant.
Oh, I don't want to start
Even
any
though
of them,
the
though.
matchup's so horrific.
Horrific.
Yeah.
Denver Denver's defense, which has been good.
Real good.
Is that Baltimore?
Ravens, yes. Denver, no.
No. All right.
Would you start Denver or Carolina?
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of them are good defenses and bad matchups, or horrendous defenses and great matchups.
I hear you.
Is Carr back ever?
I think he's close.
He has to be. Yeah, he didn't go on IR.
Yeah. Jacksonville is at Philadelphia.
Eagles
defense is startable.
Mm-hmm. They
Can't
might
start-
still be out there.
Can't start Jacksonville.
No, Eagles offense is turning the corner and getting healthy too.
Chicago is at Arizona.
I think I start the Bears. Not
I'm not
go out of my
loving it.
way to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not picking them up to do it or
There's
paying
some
for them
really
in DFS.
bad
These
defensive
are
matchups.
awful matchups.
Detroit is at Green Bay.
No and no. That's gonna be a lot of points in that
There'll
game.
be a lot of points in that game. We'll see what Love's status is. He left the game
True.
at halftime with they said it's a groin strain.
Yeah.
So he's kind of day to day. We'll see. I would expect he plays in this one. It's a big
I don't know
game.
if he finishes it though.
Yeah.
Could be. That's kind of what happened last week.
The Rams are at Seattle.
I don't love either one of
No,
those.
I won't start either one of those ones.
There's no defenses I want to
All right,
start.
this might be the start of the week. Actually, Indianapolis is at Minnesota, but
But the Vikes are not on the free
They're going to
agent wire.
Flacco.
You're still starting the Vikes gladly.
They're
They're
gonna-
not available.
But are they
can't
going
stream
to
them.
blitz Flacco like they would have blitzed Richardson?
No.
They probably will because that's what they do, but it's not maybe the best move.
I mean, that's great. I mean, it's a side note. That's great for Pittman and Downs.
Yeah.
And those guys. I mean, Downs looks great. Starting the Colts?
No,
Oh.
no.
But we got to come up with 10 to 12 starters. We're not even close.
Tampa Bay in the Monday night matchup is at Kansas City. You're going to start Kansas
The
City's
Chiefs
defense.
are strong.
Yeah.
Without those weapons in particular.
You can't start Tampa Bay.
No. We came up with like 5 that are even close.
Yeah, maybe some of those ones I was poo-pooing early in the segment are. I guess you'd have to hold your nose and start
That's
the
what I
Saints
mean,
against
just-
Carolina. Yuck.
Or Tennessee played somebody terrible, too. Those race to 14s, I guess, are the best bet.
I guess
With bad quarterbacks, you hope throw a bunch of pick sixes.
Yeah, there's only two defenses off or two teams off this weekend: the
That's what it
Steelers and the 49ers.
Steelers and Niners,
Yeah,
which pretty decent teams.
yeah, two good defenses that are
Two
off.
good defenses, too, yeah.
So yeah,
Wonder
I
if
mean,
McCaffrey gets revved up here soon.
they said he's supposed to start ramping
they're
things
gonna-
up now.
Do the 21-day window thing
Yeah.
this week or whatever,
So-
whenever they can.
Not a great slate of fantasy.
There wasn't even a lot of games I was excited about.
No.
It's terrible for defenses.
Like the bad teams are all playing the bad teams, and
Right.
the good teams aren't playing any.
Like Rams Seahawks is a pretty good game, but it's not a great game. You know?
No, I mean Green Bay Detroit might
Green
be the
Bay,
one
Detroit's
that's the one that I want to watch the most.
that's probably the only two top 10 type teams facing
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. I mean, Dallas Atlanta will get eyeballs on it because it's the Cowboys, but I don't know if that's going to be a great game.
Dallas loses that one. They're
They're done.
pretty darn close.
Done.
To done. Yeah.
Miami Buffalo's a good game.
Yes.
Should be.
But another Miami loss, they're done.
They're done, and it's
Yeah.
in
They
Buffalo.
only have 2 wins.
Yeah, I guess they'd rather be in Buffalo now than be in Buffalo a month
Later
from now,
down the road.
but still, like not great matchups.
AFC's kind of a mess.
It really is. We'll get to that when we come back because we're going to talk power rankings. It is Power Ranking
Feels like
Tuesday.
Monday. It
There's
doesn't
so
feel
much
like
stuff
Power
we have
Rank.
to
I
get
know,
through
geez.
today because we didn't do a show yesterday. Like when we don't do a show on a Monday, it just throws the whole week off.
I know. I'm all screwed up over here.
Everything we got to talk about. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back with those power rankings right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And, well, it's time for the power rankings here
I'll rank
on
it up.
NFL.com, done by Eric Edholm. And
Week's getting away from us already.
it really is. We got to get this week back under control here. So, no
Panthers
shakeup.
have to be 30.
No shakeup at the bottom. The Panthers are still number 32.
We're 1 week off from the trade deadline. Is there anyone that they shouldn't trade?
Anyone that they shouldn't trade?
Derek Brown, but he's hurt.
Some of the offensive linemen,
Maybe like Icky.
Yeah, they can't move on from some of those offensive linemen. That's all
guards
they
they
got.
sent, right.
Moten.
I mean, you're not gonna like Jonathan Brooks, but like
Yeah.
you could probably get like if I'm the Ravens, I'm getting Clowney back, or go get anybody.
Yeah. Well, Clowney's hurt.
I know he's banged up, right?
Yeah. And apparently in Merrill's doghouse as usual.
As usual.
At,
They're horrendous.
at 31, down 2 spots, the Tennessee Titans.
It's getting to that point.
Pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
Yeah, that's another team that, I mean, who's not available?
Could you get Simmons for the right price? I mean, I'm talking about like big ticket items.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to get Latham, you're not going to get Sweat. But
No,
I mean, like,
some of their young
rookies,
guys.
right?
I mean, this is a team that spent money this offseason.
More than anybody.
Yeah.
Like I bet you could get Pollard, Ridley, Rudolph.
I don't know if they can move on from Ridley, though, because they gave him a signing
They gave him
bonus.
a lot, right?
Yeah, I mean,
they don't do that very often.
that would be an expensive mistake.
Mm-hmm.
At 30, up one spot, the Patriots.
Yeah, they're terrible.
They're 2-6.
Mm-hmm.
Moved out of the. I think they had the number 1 overall pick, and they ruined it
Yeah, by winning. And you need to get May back on the field just to because he's got potential.
Yeah. At 29, down a spot, the Raiders.
Raiders are terrible. So they're not far. I was about to say they're not far off this group.
But what I tell you, they covered against Kansas City.
Oh, did they?
They came in the back door.
Could Crosby move? I think Myers could move.
No, they've already said they're not trading.
I know
Crosby.
they've said it.
They have to try to do something to sell tickets in Las Vegas because there's just so much going on there.
If I'm the Lions, I'd give you so much for Max Crosby.
And it's such a destination.
I get it, right? They're in a conundrum.
They can't trade Max Crosby. They're not going to trade Max Crosby, but maybe they'll trade Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, I think you could get Myers. Receivers are moving all over the place.
All over. At 28, down a spot, Jacksonville.
It's pretty miserable.
They're going to get fired soon.
Yeah, they're going to get fired soon. None of any receivers now, too. All their wideouts are hurt.
Christian Kirk.
Out for the year.
Thomas
is going to miss time.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Yuck.
not so good.
Yuck.
I'm kind of shocked ATN's still a Jag. I don't know if anyone wants running backs.
At 27, up 3 spots, the Cleveland Browns.
They should be trending up.
So by these rankings, the Baltimore Ravens have lost to the 30th best team in the league and the 27th best team in the league. I thought only Mike Tomlin lost.
Not
to
to
teams.
say everyone wants to kill Tomlin when you lose to a bad team. Like no one ever, it never happens. To
Never happens
else.
to anybody else.
Right,
Only
right.
Tomlin's team does that.
Yeah, everyone just always covers the spread, and everybody you beat every team, and it's easy in this league.
And it worked out okay for Harbaugh, but they line up for a 3rd and 1 in Cleveland territory.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the 3rd or 4th quarter in a 1-score game. They got Derrick Henry. They got Lamar Jackson. Who do they have under center? Charlie Kohler.
Really?
And he false started.
I didn't see that.
They get their 3rd string tight end under center on 3rd and 1. He false starts, moves it back to a 3rd and 6.
I mentioned it earlier. That's like the Bears handing it to a backup guard in the go-ahead touchdown.
Yeah. And oh, by the way, in a game that they lost by 1 score, Justin Tucker missed a kick again.
Yeah, that's becoming common.
He's 3 of his last 10 on 50-plus yard kicks.
3 of 10. Wow.
Really bad. That's the last 2 seasons.
I wonder if he retires.
I think he might.
Like gets pushed out / retires.
Derrick Henry had 11 carries
Yeah, that's correct.
and averaged 6.9 yards per attempt, and you gave the ball to him 11 times in a game that you lost. Like coaching malpractice.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Coaching malpractice.
I mean, the pass defense we know has been a problem, and it still was.
Yeah.
They had some D-backs out, and they
So
did,
run
they
the
did drop
football.
some interceptions.
Yeah.
But still, I think they just traded for Deontay Johnson. I bet they're not done. I bet they do something to help the pass defense. It sure seemed like they're all in.
At 26, holding steady are the Giants.
Yeah, they're better than all those
They're
teams.
better than the teams below
Yeah.
them.
I mean, them versus the Browns right now would be an interesting battle.
They're better than the next team. At 25, down a spot, are the Saints.
Oh, the Saints should be The Saints are in Raider land.
Yeah.
It's over.
They can't even operate right now.
No, it's over. I mean, not that it's not over for the Giants, but
Spencer Rattler got pulled for Jake Haener.
yeah. So we were looking at the playoff picture. There's only 3 teams in the NFC that I think have no chance: Saints, Giants, Panthers.
Yeah. That's
I mean,
why the Rams aren't trading Cooper Kupp. They're back in it.
Right. There's 13 teams that have a strong case.
At 24, down 2 spots, the Jets.
They're every bit that bad.
Yeah.
I mean, they get no mojo.
Are the Giants better than the Jets?
No on paper, but I would pick them to win straight up right
The game
now.
is not played on
In
paper.
that stadium, that they both play in.
It would just depend on who's the home team.
I would pick the Giants no matter what. They wouldn't block those guys.
No, they wouldn't. Yeah, you're right.
Rodgers would get hit, and Lawrence would land on him, and he'd get grumpy. And they'd probably run on him.
At 23, somehow they moved up 2 spots.
Because all these teams stink.
Miami.
I guess they should have. They're better than all those teams.
I guess, but they're not
They had
good.
2 wins.
They had 2. They're 2-5,
They just lost.
and going to Buffalo this week. Good luck with that.
Yeah, their season's about to end.
At 22, down 2 spots, the Bengals.
That's the neighborhood
They got
they belong in.
smoked at
Their
home.
defense stinks.
Smoked.
They got pushed around. They're soft.
Yeah. And you take one weapon away from Burrow, and he doesn't look like Joe Burrow.
I don't know the numbers, but in this era,
Really, what they did this offseason was they took 2 weapons away from Burrow because they got rid of Mixon, who looks great in Houston, and the 2 running backs that are trying to, I was a Moss guy.
mm-hmm.
He ain't it.
It's not in the lines on it.
And Brown ain't it.
What I was going to say, though, is during this Burrow era, when they have Higgins, Chase, and Burrow on the field, they win a lot.
Yeah.
When they have any of them missing, they lose a lot.
Yeah.
That's too fragile.
It's way too fragile.
And you're not going to bring Higgins back next year.
Yeah, they can't afford him.
Right.
And because they got to restock the defense. They have to.
I heard a good conversation about this. If you go to drafthistory.com and look at the Bengals' last 5 years, guys that should be on rookie deals, 4 years, 5 deals, they're getting nothing from any of them. And most of it's on defense.
Yeah.
Miles Murphy. First-round picks,
Yeah, it's not good.
Max Hill,
It's how you blow your window.
Right.
At
Got to hit on picks.
21, down 2 spots, Dallas.
I think we're getting into teams that still have a chance, I think the Bengals still have a chance. But I guess Miami still has a chance. But this seasons have gone disastrously wrong.
At 20, up 3 spots, the Rams.
Trending the right direction. They're
Yeah.
going to be hard to play with as long as Stafford has Kupp and Nakua.
At 19, down 1 spot, the Colts.
Where would you rank them, though? I mean, I think you have to rank them as if they have Flacco.
Yeah. I think that makes them better.
That just makes them better, yeah. And that's about where they belong, though.
Yeah.
With Richardson, they're lower.
They're 4-4,
Yeah.
At 18, up 3 spots.
You ever seen a quarterback take himself out of his game?
No, never.
That's
never.
insanity to me. I mean, if you got to...
You've got to you just tell, hey, coach, let's run the ball here.
I'll get back to the huddle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
18, up 3 spots, Arizona.
Is that too high for them? I know they're leading their division. They're 4-4. Just beat a not-so-great Miami team.
It was in Miami, though.
Mm-hmm.
Big win
No,
for
that's
them.
a nice win.
Yeah.
Kyler played really well. Harrison's doing well.
They're
good.
a Jekyll and Hyde team.
Yeah, they are.
They just you just don't know what you're going to get each week. Kind of like Indianapolis, so they belong in that same
Little bit,
area.
yeah.
Kind of like the next team. It's 17, down 3 spots, Seattle.
Yeah. I heard some people talking about this is a time of the year where their ultra-young coaching staff starts to get in over their head. You know, like adjustments to adjustments in the course of the season. I can see that. They got beat up bad at home.
At 16, down 3 spots, the 4-4 Buccaneers.
Without those weapons, I think that a lot of the teeth came out of the Buccaneers.
Not
Their
quite as
defense
good.
hasn't been great.
No.
Baker's going to start forcing stuff.
Yeah. At 15, up 2 spots, the Chargers.
Yeah. I'm liking them more and more by default because everyone around them
Everybody
is just
below them
crumbling,
stinks,
and
yeah.
they're fine. Herbert looks great. Our boy McConkey's a dude. They play good defense. That's going to get them in the playoffs probably. They have an easy schedule, you know.
Yeah. At 14, up 2 spots, San Francisco.
Are they a sleeping giant or they are what they are?
They still have some warts.
I say it's just a
The
new
injuries
injury
are
all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, just when things look like they're a little better, something bad happens.
Like they're, to me, light years behind Detroit,
Yeah.
Green Bay.
Would they still be your bet to win the division? I think they
Probably.
would be for me.
Yeah, probably.
But I only think one team out of that division is going to go in the NFC.
Yeah.
Same with the South.
It's all 4-4 or less.
Yeah.
At 13, I think the 49ers are better than this team. But 13, down 2 spots, are the Bears.
I agree. They're
That was a horrendous loss.
and Caleb was bad for most of it.
Awful.
Yeah. I mean,
Awful.
for almost all of it, he was a problem.
Against
Which is
a bad defense.
going to happen, right. And he should do more against that defense. Yeah.
They didn't, they did. You can't let somebody get behind you on a Hail Mary. You just can't.
You can't be talking to the fans either.
You got 7 guys who go for the football. Nobody takes the guy behind because they
Yeah.
all want the glory of trying to go for the interception.
It makes you wonder, like, Did they ever coach it? Did they
Probably
ever
not.
practice
Didn't
it?
look like
Yeah,
it.
Didn't look like it. I mean, there's pretty set rules to that.
Yeah.
You didn't follow them.
At 12, up 3 spots, Atlanta.
I think they're the best team yet, based on the offense.
Yeah. It's
I
all,
don't think they're
about
a
the offense.
Yeah, I don't think they're a contender.
And Kyle Pitts,
Waking up.
looking like a dude.
Yeah. They got dudes. It's always somebody that way, you know.
At 11, and we said this way back after week 2, that the Steelers' wins against the Falcons and Broncos, who are at 11, up a spot, would
10,
look
11.
much better.
Yeah.
Look much better now than they did at the time.
I think Denver is a really hard schedule.
They do.
coming up.
We just talked about that. They got
Oh, yeah.
the next couple of weeks here at Baltimore, at Kansas
we were talking
City.
about Knicks, right?
Hello, 5-5.
Yeah, but still, I mean,
You'll be right in the mix on the AFC.
if you're 500 with that roster, you're doing okay.
Yeah. At 10, the Eagles holding steady.
I think they're getting better. That doesn't mean they should move up the power ranks because then somebody has to go down. But I think they're coming into form.
I think there's a clear-cut top 10 teams right now.
Like
49ers
the Eagles are a lot better than Denver.
The 49ers could push into that.
Yeah, they might be
conversation.
the only team though.
Yeah.
I don't think like Cincy's getting back up
No.
there. There's
No.
too many holes. But could the Eagles win the Super Bowl?
No.
That's asking a lot.
I don't
But,
think they not as currently constructed. They still got some holes.
But like DeJean's playing well,
Yeah.
and Mitchell's playing well, and Lane Johnson's
But Jalen
back.
Hurts is not.
No, it was his best game yet, but it was against
the
terrible
Bengals,
yeah.
At 9, holding steady, the Steelers. I might have them a little bit higher.
I wouldn't have them lower.
No.
Yeah, I'm definitely have them over everybody listed. I mean, I know some teams coming up, of course, are pretty darn good.
At 8, the Texans. I think the Steelers right now.
Yeah, the Texans are in trouble.
I think the Steelers right now are better than the Texans.
I do too. And my reasoning isn't much about the Steelers. It's
What's happening to the
the
Texans?
2 receivers and the O-line situation. It's too much on Stroud.
Yeah, they should have lost to the Colts. If Anthony Richardson isn't historically bad
Right.
throwing the football,
I mean, 33% or something like that. I mean,
unbelievable.
right in the 30s.
And he threw like over 30 times.
Yeah, I think he was 10 for 33 or something like that. How does that happen? And they don't run him that much because they don't want him to get hurt. I think that comes from ownership. Like, well, he
I would love to know who said we got to take this guy. Would they take him 4th overall, 3rd overall?
I think, yeah.
I didn't like him as a prospect then. I certainly don't like him any better now.
I like him a lot less now.
Yeah.
As a rookie, he had a lot of flashes.
I mean,
he couldn't finish games.
He couldn't finish games, and it's no different than his college stats. Like, he started 10
You have to
games
be-
in like.
But part of me is like, if you draft him, you know that you have to be unbelievably patient with him. Like, you had this conversation before the draft. He was not.
But then you decided to start him, and then he keeps getting
And
hurt.
he keeps getting hurt, and it's just a rabbit hole.
Yeah, bad.
I'd have the Steelers over the Texans.
I'd have the Steelers over this next team. At 7, down 3 spots, the Vikings.
I would too.
You can't lose 2 in a row the way you did,
Mm-hmm.
and only go down 3 spots.
I think they're.
I understand they were number 1 a couple weeks ago in his rankings,
Sure.
but there's
They were a bit of a fugazi at 1 too.
yeah,
You know, like they're good, not great.
yeah.
And they'll be in the playoffs. They'll probably lose in the first round.
Like
That's a
they
successful
could have lost to the Giants in week 1.
Mm-hmm.
That was a 1 score. Like it wasn't that
Yeah.
The
They
Steelers
lost Darisaw too.
yeah, and again lost their starting left tackle for the season.
I think Hawk's back this week.
Which will help.
Is something. Yeah.
At 6 are the Packers holding steady.
I'm very cool with that. I
I'm
think they're
fine with
really
that,
good.
yeah. 5 up 2 spots are the Commanders. No, that's a bit rich.
I'd probably have the Commanders over the Steelers, and they're the next opponent. I think they've earned that, but they wouldn't be ahead of Green Bay.
no.
Definitely not. I'd have them over Houston.
At 4, down 2 spots are the Ravens.
Should be. They should go backwards. Should they go further back than that?
They're 5-3.
I think I'd have the Packers ahead of them.
They got 2.
But I wouldn't have Washington.
Their 2 of their 3 losses are the worst losses of anybody in the top 10.
Oh, they're 2 of the worst losses of the season in
Yeah.
the NFL. Yeah, no question. And their offense is good.
When they give Derrick Henry the football,
Yeah.
when they don't get in their own way. If you look at some of the losses, when they lost to Kansas City, Henry wasn't a factor at all because they didn't give him the ball.
Yeah.
The game against the Raiders,
That's another one. When you make the move in the front office and have the conversation, it's a dedication.
Well, and if you
that's
remember,
why Henry's not for everybody.
After week 2, Harbaugh was asked about, why isn't Derrick Henry being used more? Well, we didn't get him to do that. Then why'd you get him?
Then you got him for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
That's what he does best, right?
Yeah. At 3, up 2 spots.
Did they play this week?
Baltimore has Denver.
Ooh. Okay.
The Bills are up 2 spots to 3.
I really like what they're doing.
They're playing much better.
Yeah. I thought the defense would be worse.
At 2, down a spot, Kansas City.
Detroit's better than Kansas City.
Now, Detroit's the best team in the league right now. They're up 2 spots.
That's pretty clear.
Yeah, I mean, they're just mashing teams.
Mm-hmm. Like Kansas City got Hopkins a little involved. That's kind of exciting. They drafted for Uche, or traded for Uche. Okay, that's kind of okay. Detroit's mashing people, though.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
even without Hutchinson now.
Right. I would be in the market for a defensive end if I were them.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you can get Crosby or Garrett, but you could probably get Reddick, or there's probably a name out there I don't know. I'm in it to win it with that team.
Yeah, I mean, the quarterback's playing well.
He's in the MVP conversation.
They threw for less than 100 yards.
I say he doesn't have to throw.
He threw 3 touchdown passes. Like the ball never hits the ground. He has many incompletions as he did touchdown passes.
And that's becoming common with them.
Yeah.
And they're getting a lot of yardage, like on special teams, and the Brian Branches of the world are really playing well. And
special teams might be the most underrated part of the game.
I wonder if it's more important now than ever because it's so hard to get explosives on offense. We're
going to talk about that next. We're going to take a quick look at the DVOA because I want to look and see who are the top special teams the top teams in special teams in the league.
Steelers should be one.
And see where they rank in terms of overall record.
Okay.
You can't be a bad football team and have bad special teams or good it just doesn't match up.
Yeah, it's definitely a contributing factor.
Yeah. Let's do that when we come back. He is the Matt Williamson. I'm Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. You can join former members of the Black and Gold for Kids Flag Football Clinics at the North Strabane Park on Saturday, November 9th. Instructors include Mike Logan and Roosevelt Nix, plus Kayla Pierce from the Pittsburgh Passion. Registration for your school-age child is free. Go to the calendar page at dve.com to sign up today. Kids Flag Football Clinics are brought to you by U.S. Steel, S&T Bank, Millie's Truck Pittsburgh, and South Hills Auto. He is the Matt Williamson, and I am Dale Lolley, and this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. And, Matt, I promised we'd look at the DVOA rankings here on the FTN Fantasy and look at the special team rankings. And surprisingly enough, some of the top teams don't have good special teams. Detroit's number 1.
I know they've been really good. It's mentioned they got a lot of yardage out of returns. I mean, they were great this past week. Okay.
Dallas is number 2. That's based
Phenomenal
largely
kicker.
on their kick returns.
Good returner, great kicker, yeah.
The Steelers are 3, and I think they're 3 because nobody kicks the ball to them on kickoffs.
So you just have to get basically just a wash in that phase.
Yeah.
Which is an important
phase.
Right
now, they're dead last in kick return average because they've only returned 3 kicks.
I
think it's 4 or 5, maybe 4 or 5 at tops, and it's all been the guys that you wouldn't want returning. It's been
it's on Patterson.
Your 4th and 5th running backs have been doing it.
So crazy enough, that phase, the best might be yet to come.
Oh yeah,
I mean it probably is.
Yeah, I mean down the stretch, Patterson
can't be worse. I mean, yeah,
Patterson's going to be a weapon.
Yeah,
I kept waiting for Jaylen Warren to return one last night because they kicked about halfway into the end zone. I think the Steelers' final kickoff, or their last chance for a return, they're up 8 points. And they get the kickoff with 2:59 left, and I'm like,
okay.
Why don't you bring it out?
I can't remember how deep it was.
It was about halfway in the end zone.
Okay.
I'm like, A, you're going to run some clock.
Mm-hmm.
B,
people never think of that. That's a big Belichick thing: is kick it in bound or make sure that they return it because that will eat clock late in the game.
But then you might bust one.
You might bust.
You spent the whole game.
Giants didn't have good special teams. We know they're coming in.
Yeah, they don't have good special teams units, and those guys, it's only human nature that on the last kickoff of the game, after they've downed every other one, that
might just jog down there a little bit.
They might just take a little off there and maybe a bust one.
I think I'm right on this, but I noticed early the Steelers kicked it in the zone early, and then they were like, I think we got this under control. We'll just do the touchback thing.
Yeah.
But,
So Denver is 4th.
That's huge.
It's huge for them.
I mean, that's the way they have. I mean, that's like old school Steeler football where we're not going to get much on offense. We got to grind it out. We need to win the margins. That's huge for them. I bet that's a big reason why they're in the playoff mix.
5th is New Orleans. Kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, me too.
Jacksonville is 6th.
A little surprised by that too. I mean, I haven't broke down any of these special teams units, of course, but
Washington is 7th.
hidden yardage, that's important.
Chicago is 8th.
Okay, they've had a good year.
Houston is 9th. And
Right.
Indianapolis is 10. Those are your special teams, the top 10 special team units in DVOA according to FTN Fantasy, and they take everything into account.
Oh, they do. They absolutely do. A couple things I wanted to dig into. I know we don't have a ton of time, but who are the bottom 5 or 10? And I wonder, and I don't feel strong about this, Aaron Schatz always said special teams is 1/8 of the pie. You know, three pieces are defense, 4 are offense, 1 is special teams. Might it be 1.5 now? Is it more
Maybe.
important? I mean, so many people are making field goals. Does that make it less important that a 50-yard field goal is not as hard as it used to be?
Well, apparently it is for Baltimore.
Well, it is for them, right?
They used to be.
They were always in the top.
They lost that game by 6 points to the Browns.
Mhm.
6 points or 5. It was 29-24. They lost by
Okay.
5 points. Tucker missed that 50. It was a 50-yard field goal.
That's kind of a chip shot nowadays.
I mean, there's no difference. Well, not a lot of difference, anyways, between a 49-yarder and a 50-yarder.
about 1 yard difference.
About 1 yard, 3 feet, really. And he missed it. They're in field goal range at the end of that game.
Yeah.
Trying to get a touchdown because they need a touchdown because Mr. Automatic missed another field goal.
That's got to be weird for Harbaugh because, like, it was basically like when they would cross midfield, be like, we're going to get 3 here.
You know what's really weird for Harbaugh? They're 25th in special team rankings.
All right, that was actually my next question.
They're not
Where are
good.
they at? I bet Cincy's bad, too, just a hunch.
They're better than that. Tennessee's dead last,
Ugh.
32.
They got, like, nothing to hang their hat.
The Giants are 31. They went down
And the
after
Giants
last
and
night.
Jets were
They were
bad.
like 28
Allow a
going into the
return.
game last night. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Jets are 30th.
Okay.
San Francisco is 29th.
They've had a kicker injury.
Kicker injury, but it's also a top-heavy roster.
I would say they also don't keep core special teamers.
Yeah.
Either, 'cause they can't afford them.
And then Buffalo is 28th.
Huh, that kind of surprises me.
So there's some teams there that you look at and you go, these are some teams that you might run into down the road where you might have a distinct advantage
Distinct advantage, right.
on special teams.
Like, if I was Buffalo, I'd be like, if I'm McDermott, I'm like, we got to get this fixed.
Yeah,
And we might have to spend a little more time in practice or pick up a Matakevich type off the street.
they let Tyler
whatever.
Matakevich go this offseason.
Yeah, exactly.
Might
I
have
was thinking
needed
the
him.
Same thing, right.
Tampa Bay 27th, Green Bay 26th, Baltimore 25th,
That's rare.
Carolina 24th, Cleveland is 23rd, and the Rams are 22.
Okay. Who was last again? Titans.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Cincinnati's 18th.
I thought they were worse. I thought they had more kicker problems.
They're 25th in defensive DVOA.
That doesn't surprise me.
They got
They're gonna
McPherson
stay
kicker.
there.
They're not going anywhere.
No, they're not going up.
New England, another team that for years was really good on special teams, 17th.
They were bad last year, too. They had major kicker problems last year,
Yeah.
which was the root of it.
So it's Kansas City's 14. Okay, middle of
That's
the road.
fine, yeah.
That's all right. But yeah, I mean, some of these teams that you look at and say these might be some playoff type teams, not great on special teams, other than
I
in
think
the
you
AFC.
said Washington was top 10. I'm just thinking about upcoming opponent.
Yeah, they're 7th.
Okay.
Houston would be a potential playoff opponent. They're 9th.
Playoff opponent, yeah.
The Colts are in the top 10. Denver is 4.
Eagles must be right in the middle. I'm just thinking about teams that are on the upcoming
They're at
slate.
13, yeah.
Okay, because you mentioned all the teams in the north. Kansas City's good, not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Washington's
just something to
quite
keep
good.
an eye on.
Oh, that stuff matters.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've talked about this a bunch, but I put out the chart again of how much value you're getting from turnovers on one axis and special teams on one axis. And the Steelers are way, way, way in the top right corner, better than everybody else. And Denver's the only one even like in the same hemisphere.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It's huge. It's a factor. It just
absolutely
is.
Right.
Matt, that's going to do it for the show today.
Okie doke.
We'll be back again tomorrow. Got a couple of guests lined up, including Bob Labriola.
Yep, your labs tomorrow. Great.
It's Living in His Fears week. But that's going to do it for our show today. So for my partner, Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller running the Justin Miller hotline and keeping us on the air here, and for Tyler Vittmeyer making sure our video gets out there on YouTube, I'm Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.